All right. Welcome, Ben.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, and you're running for city council here in the town that I live in, so of course I felt a little, maybe I'd have you on the show because it's a political show. You're running against Lisa, Rick, and Joe for former city councilman Roy Crabtree, which I know him, and I know Lisa, of course, she's on our fire board. And so I want to ask you just a couple of quick questions, and I'm running for myself, of course, because I live in this town and I vote.
Sure.
How would you work with the local businesses to promote expansion?
First, let me say I'm not running against any of them. They're all fine individuals. I'm running for me. But for local businesses, really, I think Wheatland has a lot of things going for it. But as of late, the city council has done things that aren't business friendly. So if a new business wanted to come in, they would look at the way things are going, the direction Wheatland is headed, and it might discourage them from starting a business here. Maybe someone who lives here in town who wants to start a business. I'll give you a perfect example. The smog shop that we have here in Wheatland, they bought property on Front Street, and they wanted to put up that mural that they've so far been able to put up.
Right.
Well, the city of Wheatland, but what should have happened is they should have just been able to go put up a mural. There's no reason that they couldn't have gone and put up a mural. But the city of Wheatland a couple of years ago passed a sign ordinance restricting people and how they put up signs, and businesses have to spend thousands of dollars on what are called master sign plans to be approved by the city, as if you could put a sign on your building that would somehow damage the city, and you need their permission. So they ended up having to spend a bunch of money, submit their sign plan to the planning commission, who were then confused about how to apply this really poorly written law, and then it goes to the city council, and then the city council has to sit there, and these poor people who own the smog shop are not begging, they're not down on their knees or anything, but I've been into enough of these meetings to know what it looks like when people are just please, please,
I
please.
do too. I have too,
let us have a thing.
I was a business owner in town here, as you know. I owned this coffee shop in town here one time, so I understand what you're talking about with the whole sign ordinance. It was silly. I don't understand it.
And it's just little petty things like that get in the way of people doing business. And what we should be doing is making it a friendly environment.
Exactly.
Doing things that discourage it, because it's not maybe that sign ordinance isn't what's going to make or break somebody putting in a business, right? But it's little things like that add up to making people go, you know what, this is more trouble than it's worth.
Right, exactly, and it was. It was a guy that was going to come in before that flower shop, and he was going to revamp that whole area, and I pretty much ran him out of town because he wanted to put a coffee shop to rival mine, and I had a whole bunch of people show up to one of the meetings, and we ran him off pretty much. But he was really mad about the same thing, the sign ordinance. They were just messing with it. They would not leave this guy alone. So that would be great from my perspective if you could, if that was possible to figure out a way around that and get him to get rid of it. Next question for you. How do you feel about the new casino project that's slated for 40 Mile Road?
Okay, well, first off, I think at first the casino will be good economically because money will be being spent in its construction and drawing that kind of thing in. But as far as long-term growth, I don't really see it as economically beneficial. It's kind of a broken window fallacy to think that somehow people going and spending money on entertainment, and that's the way I look at gambling. It's another form of entertainment. Well, somehow it's not producing anything. It's not creating anything. It's not making things more efficient. And so the only way for an entertainment zone to provide a lot of wealth to an area is if it's attracting people from outside. Well, people to the east will go to Reno. People to the south will go to Thunder Valley, and people to the north will go to the Oroville casinos. So I don't really see who's going to be spending money at this casino that doesn't already live in the area. So I don't see it as particularly beneficial. It's not going to be drawing in a whole bunch of money. And as far as casinos go,
what about the jobs, though? I mean, you're talking about probably, 500 to 1,000 new jobs. You're talking about, at least 500 jobs for the construction, to maybe 1,000 for the construction.
Well,
and
like
then
I said,
opens.
To begin with, I think it will be an economic benefit because there will be those initial jobs when things are being built and capital investment is being put in. But long term, I don't see it as being that beneficial because I don't think it's going to have the sustainable kind of jobs that they're hoping for. Because like I said, you have casinos all around us, and so people are just going to go to those casinos. I don't know who lives in Reno or who lives in Auburn and is going to go, you know what, let's go to the casino in Yuba County and not go to Reno.
Yeah, I agree. I agree there. I do like the ideas of the.
It's not my money.
Yeah.
So if the people who are starting the casino think it's going to be economically viable for them, that's fine. Not my business. I don't want to get involved in it. But I just don't see it as the boon people think it's going to be. I think at first it will be nice, but long term, I don't know that it's going to be as helpful to the area as some people think it will be.
Well, Wheatland is Wheatland's a small town, Ben. Okay, and do you have any ideas for our youth for more activities maybe to take part in Wheatland?
Well, I think this goes to kind of where I'm campaigning from, and that is I have ideas, and I know other people have ideas, but the thing is I don't see as it's the government's job to go ahead and create activities for the youth of Wheatland or any community. What I think it's for Wheatland, what I would do is I would let people know, hey, look, we are going to stand out of the way. You want to start a community activity center? You want to do start some kind of group for youth? You want to do something? We will not stand in your way. We will do everything we can to make that as easy for you to do as possible. Because I want people to do things, I don't want to say for themselves, like everybody is an individual and on an island, because we're all a social community. But what I see is Wheatland gets in the way a lot, just like all other governments. And I want to make sure Wheatland's not standing in the way. So if somebody else in Wheatland's like, you know what, and I'm just throwing this out there, Wheatland needs a bowling center. I want to make sure Wheatland is not standing in the way of somebody starting a bowling center or a swimming pool or some kind of club or anything like that. I want the city of Wheatland to make sure there are as few barriers as possible to that happening. Right.
And I can see what you're saying, and I think that some of the policies and whatnot around here have kind of gotten in the way of that.
And I'll give you an example of something the city did that has great intentions, but I don't think it's because the city's involved, it's not being executed correctly, which is the community garden. Gardens are good. I have a garden. I know I've gardened most of my life. I know lots of people who garden. Gardens are great things. But what should have happened is if there was a demand for a community garden, people would have got together and started a community garden. The city could have given like a plot of public land for that, to provide that. The city could have done things like that to stand out of the way and reduce the barriers for people doing that. And instead what the city of Wheatland did was, well, we'll start a community garden. And I got put on the waiting list. I was the first person to ever ask because I just wanted to know what was going on with it. There wasn't a sign-up sheet. Then they said, hey, ask us for information. That got put into the local paper. Call and ask us for information. You call and ask them for information, and they're like, oh, we don't have any information on it yet. And so it's not done efficiently because the people who work in the city, they have other things to do. Their soul and passion and desire isn't in starting a community garden. That was just something that the city council said, that would be a good thing for the people who work at the city to do. And so that's kind of, I don't say it's not in their off time, but it's something they have, an extra duty they have to do. And what should have happened is people who are passionate about gardening should have been given an area of land and said, here, have a community garden. Go for it. You guys manage it, privately.
And that's pretty much your platform, right? I mean, it's less government, right? Pretty much. Yeah. Okay. Right. And that makes.
I think people can accomplish things on their own, and I think government should stand out of their way to allow them to do it rather than making it harder for them.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for your time, Ben. Good luck with your election. It's of course, next Tuesday we're kind of all going to be watching. We're going to be on the air for 2 hours next Tuesday, so hope you tune in. Hope everybody tunes in. It'll be I think it's going to be an interesting election all the way around. But thank you very much, Ben, for your time.
Thank you.